I believe that there's three voices. There's the voice in your head of reason, and then there's the one that lies constantly.
Mhm.
Even
Is that
realize,
would that be considered like the ego one?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
one that says, oh, you're too tired. It's okay. You can go.
Mm.
You don't have to do this. Oh, the negative, negative, negative
Mhm.
that's pulling you down.
Hi, and thanks for joining Genuine Collective. I'm joined today by Thundra Ammo Kerr, which I'm very excited to have on here. We're going to do a bit of a deep dive into the mindset that is critical in healthy living, in wanting to do your best. If you want to give us just a little bit of a background on yourself and your accomplishments, which are pretty major.
Oh, okay, sure. Hi. So very happy to be here. Thank you. So I've always been passionate about fitness and health. Um, I've been a certified personal trainer for 3 decades now. I've pretty much touched every spectrum of fitness, from endurance training to strength training. So triathlons, all the way to bodybuilding. But that's just me. But my personal, like, very, what I hold dear to my heart is the transformations that I've done.
Mm.
I've helped people lose like over 100 pounds, change their life. And yeah.
So that I'm going to jump right in there. So that whole transformation thing, because I firmly believe in the saying that it's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you. Because I feel like, so for 100 pounds, it's a daunting task. I've had to
Mhm.
lose 20 pounds since before I had to lose 20 pounds. But if I woke up one day and said, I'm going to lose 100, 140 pounds, that would be such a monumental undertaking that you would feel like it's hard to take that step because it's such a big thing. Um,
Absolutely.
so really changing the mindset of this individual must be critical.
Absolutely. If you were to say, okay, we're going to lose 100 pounds, like, it's too daunting. So
Mhm.
and mindset is everything. So just like how you train muscles, you have to train the mind, and
Mm.
training habits, consistency, but it's small bite-sized steps. So it's
Mhm.
okay, what are we going to do this week? What are we going to do today? It's all about that, so that they can see that they can handle it if it's
Mhm.
small size steps. Yeah.
Well, it's almost like a 12-step program, but it has to be attainable goals, and that's just it. If it's not attainable, you can lose interest pretty quick, especially when you know that the road is a good year long in the transformation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And pretty much all of my clients, and I've had hundreds, literally, from like teaching them how to run a marathon to swimming. I'm also a national swim coach, to these transformation challenges. It's the underlying issue is always mental, emotional. It's,
Mhm.
the body is just an after effect.
Mhm.
Everybody suffers from some type of addiction, unfortunately, due to traumas. Everyone's got
Mhm.
something in their past that, they either choose food, alcohol, drugs, or
Mhm.
stress or depression.
Mhm.
And I found myself turning into almost like a psychologist doing
Yeah.
training. It's so much more than the body. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's the mind.
That is the mind is the thing, right? I talk about that a lot, and I've talked about, my mindset, and it's funny, I was just having a chat with a friend, and I had said that my sisters think I've lived a pretty traumatic life. But it's funny because it's like, "Well, I don't think so." Um, and so it is all about mindset, and it's about how you perceive setbacks and lessons and all those things. But I have pretty strong opinions about, stored trauma and stored, it manifesting itself in, um, your appearance and how and what you're willing to accept as health or really lack thereof, but you've accepted, whatever it is you've accepted. And I feel like it's a lot of that stored trauma stuff. And everyone, like you said, everyone's got it.
Mhm.
Everyone. I did a post about the ACEs test. I've certainly talked about that a lot, the adverse childhood experiences, and mine being a 2. And I had a pretty decent childhood, and I still know that I have stored stuff, abandonment issues with my mom and stuff like that, and it is easy to have that manifest itself.
Mhm.
When I moved up to Nova Scotia, no, yeah, New Brunswick, um, I was pretty miserable, and I worked hard to get myself fit. I was running at least 6 days a week, mostly 7.
Nice.
Um, and there was a point where I was like spending 2 hours in the gym, and I'd run and I'd do resistance training, and I loved it. And I was just like in love with it. And then I
Mhm.
moved to New Brunswick, and all hell broke loose. I was miserable. I didn't run. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't do any. I self-consoled with ice cream and wine. Not
Mm.
really, but kind of. And the work that I had put into getting my 60-year-old body to look pretty damn fine, to look like a 40-year-old body, was just like, yeah, I don't care. I'm self-soothing with what I know, my friends, alcohol and wine, my oldest, dearest friends. And it's like, I'll be damned. And I knew, and I knew, and how it took me so long to get there. And I was letting my miserable mind say, yeah, whatever, girl, just do what you need to do to get through this.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think that a lot of us live there for a long time, not just the year that I lived there, but and that is, I feel, and I could be wrong, but when you look at numbers, and it's funny, back to New Brunswick, the
Mhm.
highest number of percentage of obese people are in New Brunswick. Quelle surprise.
Really?
The biggest number is in Ontario, but only because there's 6 million people in Ontario. So then from a
Mm.
percentage standpoint, they don't win out because it's not as high a percentage.
Right.
Percentage-wise, it's New Brunswick.
I believe as a trainer, we have two enemies, and it's the external influences around us, and it's the voice in our head.
Mhm.
And I believe that there's three voices. There's the voice in your head of reason, and then there's the one that lies constantly.
Mhm.
Even
Is that
realize,
would that be considered like the ego one?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
one that says, oh, you're too tired. It's okay. You can go.
Mm.
You don't have to do this. Oh, the negative, negative, negative
Mhm.
that's pulling you down. Yeah, but I believe you need to create your true voice in your head. That's
Mhm.
you. That's authentically you. And it's like every time you hear that other voice, it's like you have to like, no, I'm
Mhm.
not too tired. I'm not too old. I'm not too
Mhm.
weak. I can do this. Yeah, people are so uneducated about nutrition. Like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. They don't know what macronutrients are.
Mm.
People don't eat enough protein. Protein
Yeah.
is everything. And
Mhm.
people do not eat enough. People don't drink enough water. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just sad. Yeah.
It is sad, and stuff was focused. I don't know if you know, when I lived in Toronto, I started a company that manufactured raw dog food, and
Oh,
it was heavily entrenched in dog nutrition and health and all that kind of stuff. So all my training is animal related. But so learn for them first, and then I filtered it all into me.
nice.
Um but yeah, I think what the problem I feel like is people have accepted a bill of goods as to what health and nutrition and aging is. I know
Mhm.
that's true in dogs. People like think that shedding and doggy odor and tartar on the teeth and all that stuff, which is the same with people, is just normal aging. And it's like it's not. It's not. And everyone's been sold that bill of goods. I feel like, well, the doctor even sold that. I said to the doctor, this is my plan. I plan on going out without being on prescription meds. Oh, that's a pretty lofty goal. It's like that's my goal. And he's like, "Well, most people aren't like that." And it's like, so he was trying to tell me what I needed to do from a medication standpoint to get my blood pressure under control. And he said, you need like a vasodilator. And I said, well, isn't there a supplement that does? And he's like, not that I know of. Well, there is.
Yeah.
So instead of coaching me through, they send you to Dr. Google, they send you to the place they hate you to go to try and
Mhm.
figure things out on yourself because, like you say, they don't know anything about nutrition. Not many people, certainly not the medical profession, knows how to prevent or reverse disease. And I,
Absolutely. I love that you're talking about this because I love my doctor.
mm,
We actually debate, and he spends so much time. We argue all the time. I just went to see him recently because I know my hormones are, I'm going through menopause,
mm,
and I can lose weight. I know how to lose weight, but I'm having a bit of trouble
mm,
with those extra pounds. So I know it's hormonal, and I wanted my hormones tested. So he's
mm.
trying to put me on Ozempic. And I'm like, are you
Oh,
kidding me? I'm like looking at him going, no.
do you
Then
know me at all?
like then I'm gonna get
Yeah,
I said, I will not do that. People like it, that's what they're doing now. Oh, take this,
yeah,
not telling you it's going to damage your liver. You're
yeah,
going to be dependent on it. It's going to
yeah,
screw up your insulin like balancing.
yeah,
It's and this is how I talk to my doctor. Are you kidding? And he just smiles and he's like, yeah, it's really funny
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
I use my doctor as a diagnostician because, especially with the socialized medicine that we have, you have to get a requisition to go get blood work done. You can't just because it's considered private medicine. If I just walk in and say I want a complete blood panel, they won't do it. You can get it from a naturopathic doctor, but if you get it from your doctor, then you don't have to pay for it. So again, yeah, I use my MD as a diagnostician, and then I go about fixing myself for myself because
Yeah.
their idea of fixing is not my idea of fixing. It's their idea of fixing is masking symptoms.
Exactly. Yep.
And I get it. It's certainly easier to sit on the couch and drink wine and eat bonbons than it is to go out and walk or run or do resistance training or whatever to make you be the best version of yourself. What once I so back to that mindset thing because so but once you make that choice that you're worth it and that it is you're a vessel, you are this physical being that you're going to travel the earth with and to be the best version of that so that you can live the best life that you can live, that you can be healthy enough to go out and do things and be active. Once I feel like you determine to be that person, then it's easy to do the sacrifices of the running and the
It
it's
is.
hard to live without those kinds of things.
Yeah. It absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited. Jim and I are about to leave in 4 days to spend a month on a Panamanian beach in Central America where we'll be lifeguarding. I've been training Jim for the past 60 days. He's been doing incredible. Like he's going to be a secondary lifeguard. So
He's he always buries himself under a bunch of clothes, and I think I saw him shirtless once, and I'm like, "He's not too bad."
yeah, he's always been in great shape. And
Team, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
54.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's 55. So
nice.
yeah, we
So
always
you guys are still young. You've got so much time left, which is great.
yeah, I believe that age is just a mindset.
It's totally
So,
mindset.
do you want to hear a really funny story? So I do Thai massage, and I
Mm.
was with my Thai massage women who do it in the flea market. There was this woman laying on the chair, and she was talking. Jim and I say glory days. You know when people say, "I used to do
Oh.
gym."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They just go on. I was really fit, and
Mhm.
I don't like to talk about glory days. I like to talk about right now. What are you doing now? So
Yeah.
anyway, she's going on about how she used to swim, and so my Thai lady said, "Oh, tell her what you're doing." So I'm going lifeguarding. She says, "Oh, well, when I was your age, I could." And I looked, and then she knows my Thai woman knows how old I am. She goes, "Wait a minute, how old are you?" To the lady laying
Mm.
down. Oh, I'm 54. So am I. And she just about jumped off the chair. That's another, she looked 65, like
Mhm.
not, no, she looked 10 years older. But that's just another example of it's all in her mind.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, those days are long
Yeah.
past. Are you kidding me? You should see
Yeah.
some of my goals.
Yeah,
Like,
me too.
yeah, so it's all in the way you look at things. And
I totally agree, and when I changed my mindset it will so back it was for me, it was hypertension. I had I'd never had hypertension before, and I was presented with that, and for me, that was when I decided I actually went for a meditation walk, and I said goodbye to that Jennifer who lived in fight or flight, which was my Toronto life, my owning my own company, paying my bills all my life, like, I've been single pretty much my whole life, taking care of my own self and the bills and the dogs and whatever,
mhm,
and so that created a lot of fight or flight mentality, that high cortisol living and stuff that certainly I think was the trigger for the hypertension and the high blood pressure. So I said goodbye to that Jennifer, and it was the whole changing my mind to change my life. It and having everything be a gratitude, love, positivity, and the world changed when I
mhm,
did that. It
yep,
absolutely positively changed. I tell this story because it's a stupid little story. My sister Janine, we used to live in the beaches area of Toronto, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Though, so if you live in the beach in Toronto, 9 times out of 10, you are street parking. You have $1 million house, but you're parking on the street. Just that's the way it is. And
Mhm.
we would go out, and she was like, "Oh," I said, "Oh, I hate going into onto Queen Street. And I can never find a parking spot." And she's like, "I always find a parking spot." And it wasn't at the time that I thought of those two polar opposites, but in later in life, it's like, of course she found a spot. She told the universe she's finding a spot. So it's
Yep.
that, and I told the universe I'm not finding a spot, and they delivered in both counts.
Yep.
And so that's the thing about the mindset. It's like you tell the world what you want, you tell your life what you want, and you create the life. And I post a lot on Facebook about living vicariously through the Kardashians or sensationalistic TV and stuff. And I feel like that's what a lot of people get sucked into. And it's like, no, that like you going to Panama for a month, that can be your life. Like there are
Mhm.
people that would tune into a TV program because they can't do that on their own. But it's like, why can't you? Why
Right.
can't you? It
Because
may
you're
not be Panama for a month, but it's something. Do something. Yeah.
right. They're telling
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah.
yeah. Even when we went to Thailand, to Asia last year, so many people were like, "You're crazy. It's dangerous there in Vietnam." And we're like, "Have you ever been there?" No. Like,
Have you
so
been to downtown Toronto? That's a pretty scary
yeah,
place there, man.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, it really is amazing. People put so much
Mhm.
limitation, and yeah, they don't. I believe you should do something that scares you, like almost try to do it
Yes.
every day.
So back to the hill thing. I remember I never ran. I never there was a comedian, I forget who it was, that said something about, "Do you ever look at runners, man? I don't know why those people do it. They always look miserable." And it was true. It's like runners do have that miserable face. And so for me, it was like, oh, I used to watch people. I used to joke. I'd say, I can't even run to the bathroom. But I would, there was a hill, there was, well, going into Prince Edward County, there's that Highway 62, there's that big bridge that goes into Prince Edward County. And I used to see people running that. And I used to think, oh, good God, I couldn't even walk that. And I think I would just marvel at the fact that these people are running this hill. I would, by the time I was into my heavy running, I would do that 4 times that hill. It's
Um,
just, but for someone who, like I said, couldn't even run to the bathroom, to then cherishing Hill Day was just like it was a huge. It's
yeah,
great when things start spinning around in your head, and what used to be something insurmountable becomes something that you love it. You love the challenge
yeah,
now.
it's that switch. Another good example is Jim and I were on Fear Factor Live in the States, and that was years
Oh,
ago. It was just the most amazing experience. He did
yeah.
all couples one, he did all the stunts, which he just killed guys that were half his age. It was so amazing. I had to eat the
Oh,
nasty bugs, which I knew that I could do. I went up against two guys that were like half my age, but like very fit. When they were looking at this big bowl of like cockroaches,
mm.
snails. Um, they put it in a blender with sour milk with chunks and fish blood. Anyway, these guys
Oh,
looking at it were like this. So
mhm.
I looked at them and I was like, you can't even look at it. And I'm like, because again, it was the mindset. I said, you know what? This is a special kind of protein that my muscles never get. And I was like psyching myself up. Oh my gosh, my muscles, and
Mm.
of course I won. So sure.
Um, so is there anything that you help, because again, I'm sorry, back to that mindset thing.
Mhm.
When you have a client who needs to lose 100 pounds and you have to change their mindset, for is there something that you can tell them to do? Is there meditation? Is it just the baby steps in that regard too? Wake up one morning and make one insurmountable change, or one change that you can actually accomplish, like, because it has to be a bunch of baby steps. So how can then you start making that so slow switch to changing over? I know what I
Absolutely.
did, but
So the first consultation, it's like 2 to 3 hours. I do like a full history. I
mm,
want to know every type of trauma. I want to know the things that make you jump out of bed in the morning or lack of.
mm,
Um, and basically, I get them to start asking different questions. So when the same repetitive thing, trauma triggers come up, I I do this whole like psychological thing. There's psychological questions they have to really ponder, but it's basically, okay, this bad thing keeps repeating. It's why you go back to overeating. If it's has to do with your spouse, with your job, with your relationships, with whatever, I want to know the questions they're asking themselves, because they're asking the wrong questions. They're saying,
Mhm.
why does this always happen to me? Why does this isn't fair. Life isn't fair. My parents didn't treat me right. My spouse is yelling at me. So, no, you need to ask different questions. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, this has happened again. What can I do differently so this doesn't happen again? What
Mhm.
can I do? I'm powerful. I've been in this power place before. I can get back there. So it's changing the whole psychological um, thinking.
Yeah.
And that's one of the processes I use, and it really, really helps. And it's that feeling of gratitude. Like,
Mm.
people love to think about those negative emotions and those negative. No, let's talk about the good stuff. There's so much good stuff that you haven't thought about in a month. Like,
Mm.
or yeah, there's
For me, that was it was it. I started going to when I was in Ontario, when I was in Prince Edward County, I was going up to this little lake called Roblin Lake, and it was a tiny little lake, and there was no one there in the morning, and I would go and spend, if I could, 2 hours there doing that, meditating, positive affirmations, gratitude, and it really changed my life. That
mhm.
was probably like 2020, 2021. It absolutely positively changed my
Oh,
life.
meditation, absolutely. And I'm all about getting out of your comfort zone. You got to do things that are uncomfortable. That
Yeah,
the ones that, oh, I can't do that. Nope,
yeah.
you need to do it.
And
That's
we're
it.
doing it. Yeah, absolutely. So I agree. I always post about comfort zones and nothing grows there. And like it's to live in your comfort zone is complacency. It's mediocre. And I didn't come here to be mediocre. And I don't think anyone should come here to be mediocre. And I think everyone should say,
Absolutely.
I didn't come here to be mediocre. It's a
Yep,
short, we got what 70, 80 years here if you're lucky. That's
yep.
not a lot of time.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing things happen when you can allow yourself to be uncomfortable.
Hmm.
When I did my dog food business, the government put on this thing, SETI, Self-Employment Director Initiatives or something. It was an acronym for something, and so the government paid for it. It was a 6-week in class thing, but as a result of that entrepreneurial training, they would do Entrepreneur of the Year awards, in which I was nominated by the Rotman School of Business as Entrepreneur of the Year for my raw dog food business.
Wow.
But as such, and I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family. It was just something I'm not a good yes man. The longest job I had was when I owned my own company. I just don't play well in that corporate environment. Um, but one of the things was you had to go to this cocktail party. It was like a whole like part of the the event thing. So I didn't know anybody, and I don't know how many people I know who could actually go to a cocktail reception and walk up to people and just start talking. Like, that's getting out of your comfort zone, man.
Yep,
So now
absolutely.
I could do it. I could do it all any day and all day. It's like, and I'm an introvert, but I'm an extroverted introvert. I recharge as an introvert, but I can be extroverted, but I'm not an extrovert. Yeah.
I'm both. I'm
Mm,
because I love being alone, but I love the stage. So,
mm,
so yeah. So yeah. But you're back to your dog food business.
mm.
My mom lives in Brazil and she has almost 50 dogs
Oh my
that she
gosh.
rescued every single one of them. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Wow.
amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Oh, it's a full-time job. She has
Oh,
people that have to feed them and yeah,
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to have people if you have that many dogs. The most I had at any one time, I did Bernese Mountain Dogs, was 6
Oh
by
wow.
myself, by myself. So I would walk them myself morning and night, and then I worked and stuff. Yeah, this is a girl that's been outside of her comfort zone a lot.
You can tell as you're doing your own podcast, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was out of my comfort zone too, because when I started my raw food business, it was in 2000, and that was just the beginning. It was the infancy of the raw food movement. I started feeding raw in 1998, and so we didn't have Facebook back then. We had a Yahoo group, and because I was a strong advocate for raw feeding and felt it was an important part of health and longevity, just like it is with people. Like, why would
Mhm.
feeding processed and refined food for my dog be any more acceptable than it is for me to eat that way? So, but I used to get verbally abused, beaten, and taken down, people trying to take you out at the knees constantly. It was a battle. So when I did the podcast thing, it was again. I feel like it's exposing yourself. It's putting your raw underbelly out there. And when I did my first, you can see when I look at the first podcast, it was just explaining what the channel was going to be like. And when I look at it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I look so timid, and I haven't even done that many, but it was like, yeah, it was, you could tell I was feeling very vulnerable. And it is a vulnerable place to be doing this, that's for sure. But whatever.
I love the saying, you've got to be bad to get good and good to be great.
Right? Well,
Yeah.
that's what they say. It took me 2 years to finally make that first one. I've wanted to do this for a while, and it was just like, exactly. It's like I'm going to post a bunch of them, and they're going to be bad. And I didn't have equipment, and I finally bought a mic, and I don't even have a good camera yet. But it's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, you know what? I'll be able to look back on those and laugh and
Yeah.
just think, well, you did it. You just went and did it anyway. So good for you. Yeah.
Amazing. Like it's
Thanks.
awareness now because I didn't even know you were doing them. So
Mm.
um, I tell Jim's got such a great following, and yeah, and because it's from the heart,
Yeah,
and
it's when I've had all that dog years, it was certainly is a very good teacher. Two of my dogs died of cancer in the same month. One osteosarcoma, one fibrosarcoma. That was back in 2012. And for me, I know that dogs take on your stuff. Dogs will take on illnesses. They take it on for you. And so when I had the two dogs die of cancer, I started doing a bunch of research on cancer and alternative treatments to cancer and stuff, because first of all, I didn't want to make decisions, because I feel like all of us are probably going to be faced with that inevitability. I know dogs, it's a high incidence of cancer, and they're a canary in a coal mine. So for me, when they both died of cancer, I just thought, I can't let them take that on for nothing. That was a learning moment for me back in 2012, that they took that on for me, let me re-examine what it was about my life that they took that for me, from me,
hmm,
and made the changes back then. Yeah.
wow, interesting. Because two of my German shepherds also had cancer. Wow, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
They
interesting.
take on disease for you, yeah, which is a
Hmm,
good, so for, like I said, I thought, I can't waste that, what they did for me. I can't waste that and not let that be a profound learning moment for me, and to
wow.
change and revolutionize and change everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
Hmm.
Everything's a learning moment, isn't it?
Oh,
If you let it be, everything can be a positive learning moment. Yeah.
yeah. And even though this was such a traumatizing situation,
Mhm.
all of January, and um,
Yeah.
it affected so many people. All the staff there were terrified. Like they had to close the school down. Um,
Wow.
imagine, like, but now we look at it and go, that was supposed to happen,
Mhm.
to have this massive shift. And yeah, but I feel
Yeah.
bad for the karma that's coming this guy's way.
Yeah. I
He's
it's funny about karma, and that I never wish karma on anybody, even someone like that, and even especially someone like that, because I always think to myself, what happened to you that this is your modus operandi? What happened to you that this is the way you operate? And that for me just brings profound sadness, and
for sure.
hoping that they finally come to see it, because again, to go through life like that, be so hateful and so hate filled, it can't be a fun place to live.
Oh, oh, I know, living in his head. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it'd be
When I
horrible.
did that, I've got one more guest, and I've got a few more guests to do the narcissistic, series that I'm doing. But speaking of living in that head, that's another head space that I just can't even imagine occupying, because it's just so contrary to
Ah,
peace and happiness and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like he was really sick and Jim chopped him a ton of firewood, took it to him. He's like, "That's the wrong kind of wood," and
Oh,
he was freezing, and
I
he's
bet you his childhood must have been horrific. I
yeah.
bet you his father was probably like that to him. Never got one moments of accolades or anything, like, for him to be that way now. It's funny, I'm been single all my life. I was married once for 8 years, 7 years too long.
Oh,
Um, and he was fine. He was
yeah.
just not my right person, right? And I was fine being single. Again, having dogs, having a business, I just kept myself busy. Um, but where was I even headed with that? Shit, now I had a brain fart.
Oh,
Um,
we were
that
talking
guy.
about the guy.
Shit. It was about, yeah, mindset, being single. I forget now. Oh well.
The
Obviously, we'll get this.
what happened to him when he was young.
Oh yeah, yeah. So when yeah, now thank you. Now I'm back on track.
Well, I've had a lot of childhood trauma, but I've also spent decades dealing with it and learning how to cope with
Mhm.
triggers. So I look at someone like him that's like he's never dealt with it.
Mhm. No.
It's really sad because I
Mhm.
believe that doesn't matter what happened to you. Like the worst
Absolutely.
disgusting thing could have happened, and you could. Most of those people turn out to be the most empathetic,
Mhm.
compassionate once they've dealt with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing for me too. The adversity that I've faced, and which was just, I would call it pretty benign adversity as a child, but nonetheless still trauma based. Um, but it's true, and it's like I refuse to be a slave to that, and that was my whole thing. It's like I'm not going to stop and let that hold me back. I'm not going to give anything that much power. How
Hmm.
could you? How could you give it that much power? Then it's still controlling you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jim and I were in a religious cult for 16 years, and it really affected our younger son. Like he
Mm,
almost died with drug addiction and
mm,
because but he's now almost 30 and he's coming to like he's in the past couple of years he's really been working on it.
mm.
It's like I've seen a full 360 and it's just amazing. But thank God
Nice.
he's worked on it. Like, yeah.
Well, sometimes people say they've worked on it or they think they have, but honestly, a lot of people haven't. It's like,
So,
you know the difference between when someone's actually done some serious dark night of the soul working on it versus thinking or placating themselves with saying they've done it. And it's like you're still not coming out ahead if you think that that's considered working on it. It's
yeah.
gonna you're gonna revisit it again and again and again.
And even like I thought I was completely healed, and I used to have a lot of anger management issues. I was a very angry teenager. I used to fight a lot, and then I turned that energy into positivity, into fitness. But when this incident just happened,
Mhm.
I had to be restrained because I wanted to go over there and punch him in the head myself. Like, but I haven't had those anger
Mm,
in like over a decade probably, and it was a horrible thing to face going, oh my, he actually brought that up again. Like,
mhm,
so it's a lifetime of work, really,
mhm.
if you really are conscious of it, of
Yeah,
dealing with it. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, especially because that was the go-to for a period of time, sometimes longer periods of time than others. For sure, something when it's that, significant would be a trigger. I don't think how it could not be. I always say, like, anyone can be a monk if you live in the forest and you're not triggered by anything, right? It's like, yeah, anyone can be perfect.
Hmm.
It's living with those triggers and knowing that you have them and how to work through them and knowing that they could potentially come up and rear their ugly heads. That's all you can ask for
Yeah.
in working through that. Yeah, yeah.
But again, I think I needed to feel that again. So for some reason,
Feel it again to for sure to even almost know how far you've come, which would be a blessing too, right? Because
yeah.
I think when we walk the path, um, it's hard to know where you've come, how far you've come because you're living it. And it's little baby steps that get you from point A to point B. And the journey was like little steps along the way that you don't see the whole big the big leap. So that was probably a good way to see, wow, I went from there to here. Look at me now. It's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. That was kind of a nice little blessing. You're right. I mean,
Yeah.
wow, it was a little gift. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, 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 maybe a gift we could have lived without. That was like to call it a gift, but you know what I mean. It was the ability to see that you have come that far was the gift part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And just like fitness, anytime a challenge like that comes up, I always get excited because I think, oh, when after like over this mountain, oh my gosh, it's gonna be something great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It and to feel fit and to eat better and to have that whole, um, where things don't ache and you don't give into the fact that your joints hurt and this happens and that happens when you get old, to have all those things work the way they're supposed to, um, it's a glorious thing. There was a lady who, her name was Jo. When I was married, I lived on Scarborough Crescent at Midland and Kingston Road, and Jo, it was, going down to the Bluffs. And Jo was 80 years old. Her husband died, I don't know how many years prior, but every day she would put on a skirt suit with her tight bun on her head with walking shoes on, come from down the hill, up the hill to Tim Hortons every day for lunch and walk with a brisk walk. She was 80 years old, walking like she had a purpose in life. And then all of a sudden Jo stopped coming and she died. But it was like that's the way you're supposed to go out, so that you're doing your brisk walk every day and all of a sudden boom, you're done. No lobbing off body parts, no, whatever you've accepted as aging. It's like,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah.
No, I'm
I
not
know.
going out like that.
I know. I'll be in the gym when I'm
Yeah.
90. If I make it to my 90s or 100, I'll still be
Well,
in the gym.
it's funny, I always say, and I don't think I've made a secret of this, I haven't made a secret to anyone that knows me, that I hope to be gone by the time I'm 75. I think that's a good enough run. I don't have kids, so I think when you have kids or grandkids and stuff that you wanna have it, there's a reason, but I think 75 is a pretty damn good run, and so for me, that's my cutoff point. It's like, I have 0 desire to be 90 or 100 years old, 0.
Right.
I
Well,
know
yeah,
that's
everyone has their own, it's your
yeah.
prerogative.
Well,
Yeah.
even if I and it's funny because even if, well, okay, maybe 80, but 75 still feels like a good enough run. Yeah.
But you don't know what you don't know. So
Oh, I know.
what if tomorrow something happens where you're thinking, but in 20, 30 years from now, then I don't know, could change.
When you think of this planet in 30 years, I don't know, man.
But then again, think about what we don't know about technology too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Like, who knows?
Well, I do feel like there has to be some kind of monumental shift because we're we're on a crash course. We're headed for a collision. And so I think that there has to be a monumental shift.
Yes.
And I think we all, well, I still believe that whole chose this path thing, and that the people that are here now, we all did this for a reason, and to give everybody the credit for seeing what we were gonna endure and still taking this journey anyway, so that we all have something here to contribute
Hmm.
to the end result, and that I know that there's a bunch of non-believers out there, and I feel sorry for them because there's gonna be a time when they're gonna get smacked upside the head with some harsh realities of things that are gonna change.
Hmm.
But I do think that there's the backfiller people that aren't here really to make some significant changes, but I think that there are a significant number of people here knowing that we're here and have the courage to take that journey to make the changes that need to be made.
Yep.
That may sound a little dramatic, but I firmly believe that there are a lot, and we've met a lot. With you and Jim, with all the people that we've met,
Yeah.
we know who we know some of those people,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
yeah, and it's amazing when you can think of it that way and think of when I started making the changes about positivity and love and that love vibration and stuff, and forgiveness, that wasn't for me. It was more of for the collective, and knowing that that's step that each and every one of us has to make. And I know that not everybody's going to be able to do it or want to or feel they can, so that we have to kind of carry the burden for the ones that aren't capable of making that transition.
Yeah.
But that I take that job seriously, and that's what I'm here to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, and
And
same
you,
with you guys with the Soul's Path and stuff. So the same thing. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we have a lot planned for this summer. We might just be traveling. We don't know too.
Mm.
So, but definitely the East Coast.
Oh, good. Yeah, like I said, if we could catch up even for 5 minutes for a coffee, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We'll
Okay,
have to
good.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're especially if you're gonna be out here. I mean, Nova Scotia's big, the whole East Coast is pretty big, but still, if I can catch up, I'll drive whatever to come and catch up with you guys someplace. That would be great.
Okay. Yeah, that
Great.
sounds amazing.
Well, I don't know. Oh, we're just over an hour, which is fabulous. I thank you so much for the time that we've had to chat today.
Oh, thank you. It was so great getting
Good,
to
I'm
know
glad.
you too.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I thank you again so much for your time. Say hi to Jim and have fun in Panama. I'm looking forward to watching. I'm sure you're gonna have videos and stuff that you'll post when you're down there.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you
Looking forward to
so
seeing them.
much. Have a
Thanks for your
wonderful
time.
day. Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you. You too.
Bye.